Hello, my name is Mark Sands. I'm the Global Head of Beer, Baileys and Smirnoff at Diageo. I'm delighted to be here on the beach at Cannes with the Advertising Research Foundation.
I'm Mark Rappin, the Chief Marketing Officer of the Advertising Research Foundation. I looked at the first print ad for Guinness the whole time. It was a health product. It cured influenza, insomnia. I don't know why you moved off that strategy.
I know, it's fascinating. We have, where I work, just outside my office, we have a copy of that print ad.
Oh, really?
And there's a really interesting story behind it. So that was in 1929. At that stage, Guinness was the biggest brewery in the world. And
you mean it's not anymore?
It's not. Somebody's overtaken it, I know. The person running the business at that stage was still a Guinness. He was Rupert Guinness. He was the sixth descendant of Arthur Guinness. And his marketing team, well, his brewers, came to him and said, okay, we think it's time to do some advertising, because they'd never done any advertising before. And his reaction was no. We're the biggest brewery in the world. We're all about quality. You know, this advertising stuff just, you know, that's what smaller beers would do. And eventually they persuaded him. But he said something really important that we still write on all of our briefs, that the quality of the advertising has to be equal to the quality of the beer.
Amazing.
And we use that as a kind of a way of keeping the standards at the level that Rupert set them.
Yeah, well, we're here at Cannes talking about creative awards, creative impact. I think they should have that same standard here. I don't think there's any question about that. But in the light of this, I mean, and to you from the manufacturer side, do creative awards still matter? Are events like this important?
Yeah, creative awards really matter to us. For a couple of different reasons, actually. Firstly, and probably most importantly, because we see a direct link between the films that win the most creative awards with the films that are most effective. So, for example, from a Guinness point of view, we had a few years when we weren't winning many awards, when actually we just hadn't quite got the platform right as we started off under the Made of More campaign. And it was really interesting when we then did the film called Sapeurs, then a film about Gareth Thomas, the rugby player. The creative standards went up, the number of awards we won went up, but also the performance went up.
Terrific.
And we use econometric modelling to pick out, you know, what is driving the performance. And there's a clear link between creativity and effectiveness.
Well, speaking about that, I mean, in the U.S., you know, there's been a craft beer sort of explosion in the U.S. and a lot of that ends up being data-driven, you know, as they figure out what the right things are in the right locations and which ones can go. Just two questions out of that. I mean, one is, you know, are you seeing that craft brew expansion globally? And again, how do you find the challenges of that versus a Guinness?
Yes, the craft beer revolution is happening around the world. Now, America is by far the most advanced, and most other countries are kind of taking their lead from America, but it's kind of happening everywhere, and it will happen everywhere, I think, because it's happening in other categories as well. It's happening in food and coffee and so on. As people look for authenticity, they look for the people behind the beer, and they look for beer that's come from a real place. And we're lucky with Guinness that we've got that in spades. But it has really changed the way that we market Guinness. You know, we still make, and we still think it's really important to make big, emotionally connecting films. But at the same time, we've also had to do more that kind of lifts the lid on our brewers, the way that we make the beer. It's one of the things that we find really helpful about having the Made of More platform, because you can talk about either the beer made of more or the people made of more, and can cover both under the same umbrella.
Near in, what do you think the biggest changes in research and marketing in our industry are going to be?
I've certainly seen a lot this week around AI, around neuroscience, and we're starting to use that more, certainly starting to use those principles more in the way that we approach things. I think the thing that I haven't seen here enough is creativity. We're at the Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity, and I think that's the challenge for marketers, to keep balancing creativity with all of the tools, the data, the technology that we have, because it's both together that's going to ensure that we win.
Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We will have to have a follow-up meeting in one of the pubs later, but
Absolutely.
Other than that,
more research.
we really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Take care. Thank you.
Cheers.